The ZBA of the Town of Sullivan will be held on Thursday, November 10th, 7 o'clock, to consider the application of Martha Fry, SBL 48.-1-23.1, for property located at 1392 Route 131 for area variance for road frontage. The above application is open for inspection. Any persons wishing to appear at such a hearing may do so by person, attorney, or other representative. All right, Martha, if you want to come up and tell us, the board, what you're doing, though, I think we have a pretty good idea. You have a lot that's 300 and, what was it, 90? Not 90.
You're sandwiched in on both sides.
Right, the cemetery, the cemetery's on one
I've
side.
got, I'm asking for a frontage variance because I can't meet the required variance under the zoning, which is 150 feet. I think I got like 124 feet. There's a cemetery to the west, and there's another property owner to the east, so I can't meet the requirement.
And one property has a house, or both properties have a house that you're separating?
There's two houses on the farm, on the main parcel, so I'm separating one of the houses off and the cemetery off.
Right.
I'm going to for subdivision for that.
Okay, so you gotta go to subdivision, but you need to get a variance beforehand.
Is this up on the top of the hill? Like past the
Yeah,
golf
it would
course?
be
Just
that's,
past cheese,
yeah,
just
past
past
cheese
cheese
factory on the left, going
Okay.
west.
And so there's an existing house there,
Yes,
and then there's burial grounds,
yes.
and then there's the home that had like that little mini door thing in the middle of the house in the front. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a mini porch. What is it that you're looking to split? Because I got the survey map, but I don't understand what's the change.
So I'm creating two new parcels, one for the house at 1392, and then the cemetery parcel. That's on the main parcel, which is 1384 Route 173,
So you're trying to separate the residential from the burial ground?
There's two houses on the farm. One is located 1392, I'm trying to create a new house lot for that. And then I'm trying to create a lot for the cemetery. And then the main farm will remain as is, that main parcel, the remainder will stay as one large parcel. So there will be now three parcels out of one parcel. Does that make sense? Should I point it out to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the new house lot, this is the cemetery, and this is the main farm lot.
So there's no house here? This is
There's a
proposed.
house
That's
there, there's an
existing.
existing, nothing's gonna change, it's
There's
still
an
gonna be a
existing
house
one right
lot.
there.
So there's a home here, that right now this is all one lot?
Correct, it's all one lot, they were, both houses are in the same farm parcel.
So you're trying
And
to
the
separate
cemetery.
this off?
And this will be another parcel too for the cemetery, right now that's part of the farm parcel.
This one is
Is there a cemetery?
123.94.
Yeah, there's a cemetery there.
It needs
No,
a
no.
variance for frontage.
Is there a cemetery committee or corporation to charge?
No, it's privately owned.
Privately owned,
So that's what I'm seeking is the variance for the frontage.
just for this building lot?
Yes,
And
correct.
then this is just gonna be separate as a cemetery, so that if you wanna sell either of these, they aren't buying the cemetery to go with it.
Makes sense, does everybody agree with this?
Okay.
Does the town have an opinion on that? Because if that ends up going default or whatever, doesn't that fall to the town's responsibility for maintenance?
Well, I've had this happen in Casanova one time, so, where they separated, but we just elect not to take responsibility for it. We can't enforce it. Somebody would have to try it. It's a family park, it's
Yeah,
a
we
family lot.
maintain it.
This is the cemetery, this is the lot.
No, yeah, I got you.
But now the cemetery, that does not meet the codes, right?
It's not a building lot. I'm not proposing that as a building lot, so it does need a variance. She's in here to get the variance for it, yeah. But you're also gonna say that cemetery lot is not
It's
an
gonna be
approved building
substandard.
lot.
Right.
Yeah, so that'll be a notation in your liability of the family, the title owner for that,
But the title owner to what?
that parcel.
If
for
the family member
parcel,
sells it and somebody passes.
then that's their, their responsibility. I don't know, was it a sell, was it a purchase it with
Well, that's my point, it's
Cemetery.
it's not gonna sell them.
what is the purpose of separating out the,
Well, we've added more
Graveyard.
land off to the back for future burial, so if somebody did say cemetery association inquired if they could still sell burial plots.
Yeah.
And we wanted also buffer between any abutting land use off the back. So we've added some acreage, you'll see there's a little bit
Yeah,
of
you can see the
acreage
space
off-
behind it.
Yeah, off the back,
I think
but it's still gonna be owned by us and maintained by us.
you'd agree to a covenant that says that?
Until I found another entity to take it over, like the cemetery
We'd
association.
we'd have to work out language that would cover that, yeah. So Mike's pointing out, is there certain instances where a town could be stuck with.
No, I understand that, my goal is not to get this, I'm trying to look at this as a way to kind of methodically figure out next ownership actually,
Yeah.
and I'm pursuing it.
So another option would be to leave that parcel with one of the two lots. To address your concern. in the
But my
first
point
place.
is, if you leave that with if you leave that with a lot that doesn't have a farm,
Yeah.
then there's no issue.
That's
I was just
understandable.
gonna say,
And you wait,
if the,
and you wait until you have a
That's what I'm-
buyer.
that's what
Then
I'm
when you have
saying.
a buyer,
Come back.
you come back to the
That's what I
variance.
was
Like,
saying.
if you're interested in pursuing something with a cemetery association, once you have a cemetery association that's interested in getting just the parcel that has a cemetery, then there's no we're not putting the town in a liable position 50, 60 years down the road, because it's now you have a buyer for the cemetery that's interested in selling plots.
Which one are you
Whereas
trying to
right
dispose
now-
of right now? Which parcel are you trying to potentially sell?
I'm just trying to do future planning here, because it's unlikely, you know, I'm selling, at some point, I'm not gonna be here, I'm gonna have to sell the farm.
That's exactly our point.
But I'm trying to look at the succession plan for the cemetery right
Right.
now, and by adding extra land and making a separate lot, I can pursue.
Which is perfect. The concern is, my concern, and they may not have the same concern, so this may just be me. I know that there are a lot of small cemeteries around the town. I know that they've been, a challenge for the town to have to maintain. It's my understanding from our county historian that it falls back on the township if they're not part of an association. That the default is that we take care of, cemeteries.
Do you agree with that? John?
Generally speaking, yes, I do. So Mike,
Okay.
but
So-
Mike's proposing a solution here too.
So what I would,
which
what
agree
I would
with.
say is, if you're looking at the longevity of this and you are trying to plan for the future, and you're considering I understand what you're saying, I wanna separate this out so that I can market it and find a cemetery association that's interested. I'm saying it's backwards. So find a cemetery association that is interested in this proposal, and then we have the variance going alongside the agreement with the cemetery association to purchase it, and then we can grant the variance without putting the town in a position that if you can't find somebody, it defaults to the town. That's what I'm saying, and I don't know if that's overstepping or
No,
not.
it's a good, Mike, it's a good point, and I'm in agreement with your analysis, and one of the things I thought was happening was that the farm parcel was gonna be sold soon, and that's why they were doing it, there's a contract for sale. But that's not the case, you're saying you're planning for the future.
Well, eventually the farm parcel will sell, I don't know how quickly, but.
But you can subdivide off the farm parcel as you're showing it here. So that would be parcel 1 on your map. You can subdivide that with a planning board. You wouldn't need a variance from this board to do that, because that's got 246 feet of frontage.
So you can do the part where
Right.
the house and the cemetery are parceled off,
Yep.
and the farm is separate, and then when you have somebody
Then you come back.
that will purchase the cemetery, and the cemetery association that's willing to take on the cemetery, then you come back and we give you the variance.
Would you consider a conditional approval? If I did meet those terms
So that's what
Conditional
you,
approval of what?
of the variance subject to, the ownership issue of the cemetery?
I've never done one like that before, a conditional approval like that. So we'd have to figure out what the condition is gonna be. You vote to grant the variance, subject to.
a purchase contract with the cemetery association for parcel 2. I mean, you
Well,
said,
but-
you said before that conditions have to be associated with the variance being sought, does that qualify as?
I've never done it like that with a cemetery situation like this, and, let me think about it just for a second. Because you still gotta get the subdivision too, you still need the
Well, we don't
subdivision.
need
Yeah.
that decision tonight, so we could wait.
Yeah, let's
We-
talk
we
about
could-
that,
we-
yeah.
We could table and you can do some research on
Subdivision.
path A or path B.
So you will not allow a subdivision of the cemetery until I have future buyer, whether it's a cemetery.
No,
The
again,
they only can do
again,
variance.
Just my opinion.
You're
Well,
you're
that-
just hearing from Mike, you know, us other board members might have a different.
Right, but I'm trying to understand where they're coming from, that's what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
That's just me.
Okay.
They can outvote me and just say.
It's a
"We don't have
legitimate, he has a
No,
legitimate
I
concern,
understand
we have
where
seen
you're-
situations
I
where a graveyard the care of a graveyard under state law falls into the care and responsibility of the town, so then town taxpayer dollars have to take care of that graveyard, there's a whole section of law on it. And I've seen it before, but Mike's potential solution is a solution that you don't even need this board for today. You're asking, can you do it can you approve the variance conditionally? I've never done that one where the condition was, you gotta go find somebody to take over the cemetery. I'm not sure how I would write it up, but I guess we don't have to vote for 62 days after we close the public hearing. So I can look into it and think about it, and do it in
You
a
haven't-
future meeting.
Done any research? Is there really any market? Is there anybody, you know, looking to buy a cemetery where they can put, I don't know, you figure how many plots?
Yeah, I did figure out how many
How
plots.
many was that?
It depends, if it's cremains, obviously a lot more
Right.
burials can be happening, you can do like 4 cremains per traditional burial plot.
2 per, yeah.
2 or 4, it depends what the state says, and it depends if it's gonna be regulated.
103, yeah.
It's something like that, but obviously, but I think we could do with the additional area, we could do 150 more burials with traditional, you know,
Oh, wow.
casket burial.
Then the next question is anybody getting buried anymore, really?
Yeah.
Somebody.
I had this in Casanova once where somebody wanted to section it off, so I'll look and see how we did that. We didn't do it with a long-term condition.
Do you wanna wait for 62 days and I can do my homework and you do your homework, and I don't know,
Well, we can have the public hearing tonight, and then that part will be done.
but I could carve off the cemetery and leave those 2 parcels in
That's,
question.
which is what Mike was talking about.
Okay.
Mike was saying,
I'm just trying to figure out.
yeah, your potential move here would be, you don't even need a variance, you go to the planning board at the future meeting with a modified map that eliminates the line between the 2 smaller parcels. And then they grant that because you didn't need a variance. And then, like Mike said, then once you have something lined up, you come in and get the variance from these guys when you need it, and then that gets subdivided, which is all permissible.
But no, she needs a variance for the 1 lot, no matter
No,
what.
but eventually, but what we're saying is, she could do this.
Combine the cemetery and the new house.
Well, this is 1 lot, you don't need the variance now.
Right.
Oh,
More than-
you're saying
you
put
can
the
sell the farm.
cemetery with the smaller
Keep it, yeah.
house.
And then you
with
can
that,
sell the
yeah.
farm, if
Yeah.
you need to sell the farm, and then you find your buyer, and now you come back for the variance.
So
Those
if I have
2
a
lots
buyer-
would meet all the dimensional requirements that your code
Yeah.
requires.
Let me ask, if I have a buyer for that new house lot, how long is it gonna take for me to go through this process?
Which is the new house lot?
The one, the 1392,
Parcel
the one that
3?
needs, the one that
Yeah.
needs the
The smaller
variance.
one?
The smaller one.
Smaller one, how long would it take? It would take, what you're doing here, you get on the agenda, they hold a public hearing if they're happy with it.
3
If
months?
No, less than that.
Well, you're saying it backwards, so you have a buyer for the smaller house, not for the
I
farm.
may have a buyer for this one.
So you have a buyer for the smaller house, not for the farm,
Yeah.
then you would need a variance from us, we could do it backwards. If you think you're gonna hold the farm longer than the smaller plot, then instead of proposing the 3 lots, keep this with the farm.
Mhm.
You still don't need a variance.
We give, no, she needs a variance for this.
Oh, right, for the small.
We would grant the variance for just this one,
Yeah.
if this is staying over here.
Yeah.
And then then when you're ready to sell the farm, come back and we,
He's saying keep the cemetery with the farm.
Yeah.
Okay, and we could potentially, issue a variance for the quote, new house lot.
Correct.
we could do that next month if we had an application that wasn't proposing 3.
Update the map. You could do that.
Yeah. If we saw a proposal to go to 2 and
What does your family lineage look like? Is there people in your family that want to?
I'm reaching out to, see, my family, my part of the family's been taking care of this. It's been our family cemetery for over 200 years.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a long time that we've been maintaining this cemetery, and I'm looking at the succession plan, but I feel like I really have to carve it out to kind of say to the next generation, look, this is not part of our firm now, this is your job to take care of it.
So Mike's concern actually is more focused now, after that explanation, because the original concern was, well, would this fall onto the town to take care of? And
We've taken care of it for over 200 years.
no, I totally understand.
Believe me.
I totally understand, but the question.
But I'm not
is
gonna live
the-
forever,
Yeah,
and
but
I'm
the
probably gonna be
question
buried
is,
there, so.
Would the board end up, any of these two boards end up creating a scenario where the town must take it over? That's gonna be the situation.
because if it stays with the farm, whoever buys the farm is not gonna wanna have a dilapidated lot next to them with everything falling over. They'll maintain it. If it's totally
You
separated
think?
off,
No, I,
Yeah.
Cause they don't have to take care of it.
No,
they're more likely to than people that don't even live in the area.
Right,
How's that for response?
okay.
So that's the concern.
There's a division of the state of New York that handles all cemeteries.
yeah, I know.
Did you talk to them already?
I've talked to them a little bit, yeah, about this.
What are they talking?
Well, you know, you can create a cemetery association,
Right.
a legal entity. I can put in a family trust, I guess, and have that. So, you know, we're looking at all those options.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm the generation that's looking at all those
It
options.
sounds like you're the responsible one that's,
Yeah.
this is all falling.
Have you spoken to any cemetery associations? Do you have a way to get a list of who?
Yeah, I have. I think some of them are just trying to take care of what they've got right now.
Right.
You know? And so I'm exploring it. Believe me, I wanna make sure we're doing, I don't want this to be the burden of the town. What do you
You
think?
find somebody young with 10 kids and with
It's not happening.
grandparents in their 80s, they get the farm and then they can bury their grandparents there and they can make the back half about their family. They don't
Yeah.
maintain the whole thing. Didn't you say you had some interactions with the Amish down in Lebanon?
No, yeah. God's will. Okay, so, I mean, at the point you're at now, it sounds like we've explained some options for the applicant to consider.
Yeah.
You could.
So
conti-
she
you
could
could
go
continue
ahead with
this if
we
you
can
want.
go ahead with the hearing and vote as what you have proposed here tonight.
You wouldn't wanna vote on this.
Well, we could if you guys wanted to.
Unless you want to. If you wanna
Can
vote
I-
and do this, but what Mike's concern is, if you vote on this, the town might end up with cemetery to take care of at its expense. Cause it just makes it that much easier for it to divest it back to the town.
so why don't we table it until next month? You can explain or explore your options. And one of the options that I personally think is most viable at this point is to attach the cemetery to the farm and ask us to grant you a variance for the new house lot, if you will, with
I
the,
mean, that would be one option as well, yes.
yeah,
That would buy time.
that would buy time for you
And sell the one lot.
and be able to sell the one lot.
Free up that lot.
And that would be one more meeting here.
So
and
let
then
me
a
ask
meeting
this,
with the planning board.
if I can't find a successor organization, if I continue to own the cemetery, are you gonna let me carve off the cemetery at some point so I can sell the farm? I mean, that's kind of
Mhm.
that's the reality.
I'm on the fence. I mean, he's definitely against it. I'm on the fence. You know, I mean, again, I see
I don't know.
tabling and doing a little bit more
Sitting here right now, I
research.
don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of, we've only been thinking about it for less than 20 minutes, so
Right,
not a lot of time for the board. You've been thinking about it for years. They're thinking about it for about 20 minutes, so
yeah,
they have to figure it out. Nobody's saying no. I think
no,
they're just
I
saying,
understand,
let's
I
consider
understand
it.
where you're coming from, I do. I think, maybe if we could withhold the vote until next month, so I can kind of
Right.
explore some options, if that's okay.
But you could do the hearing, it's already noticed for tonight.
Yeah, I know, yeah, that's why I figured
I
we
think
could do
everybody
the
here
Yeah,
wants
we
to
just
talk
table
about
it.
Do I have a motion?
To hold the
Yeah,
public
to
hearing
table.
or table?
We already
Oh,
held, this
There's
has
nobody
been,
here, right? for
this has been a public hearing.
Is there anybody
Nobody's
here
here.
to speak for or against this application? If so, please stand and state your concern. Okay.
I'll make a motion to table the public hearing to next month.
I'll second it.
We have a motion on for all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. All right, Martha will
Okay.
Make your drive back from Cooperstown next month.
Oh, God bless you. Sorry.
Forgot about it.
At least the weather was nice this week. I won't promise it next month.
No, I got lucky, thank you.
All right.
Have any of you ever walked the Yates Cemetery on Dyke Road? It's magnificent. It would, if they invested the money to make it accessible, it's unbelievable. Yates, the original, but it's way down on Dyke Road, on the west side of the road, and it's back a ways, like up a hill, over hill, it just goes back. It's awesome.
Well, it's at the Anglish Cemetery on my road. That wasn't maintained for years and years, and one of the neighbors, said, hey, I'm sick of it, and they cleaned it up. And once they cleaned it up, now the village mows it, but it was a disaster. Second hearing, a public hearing before the ZBA of the town of Sullivan will be held Thursday, November 10th. To consider the application of Jeremy Henderson, SBL number 33.1-20.21 for property located at 2001 New Boston Road for area variance to build a pole barn 5 feet from the west side of the property line. Any person wishing to prepare such a hearing may do so by person, attorney, or other representative. Mr. Henderson, if you're here, you could come up. I know you've changed the barn from your original application, and we've got that update. So if you want to tell us why you've got to go as close to the side as you requested.
Yes, we've been out for a couple of years, and I talked to the previous owners,
Jeff Taylor.
Jeff Senior. He has drainage that runs all to the pond in the center, and from that pond, it goes to the back of the property. Right where we're gonna be putting that pole barn, if we're gonna build it the size we wanted, the pylons and everything are gonna go right into the drainage.
If you went out.
If we were
What for
15
that?
feet off of the property line. So, I was talking to him one day, just, getting his suggestions, what we should do, and he said, why don't you ask for variance? So that's why I'm here. The reason that we did flip it to the other side of the driveway, closer to the road, I had a site guy come in, and he said that it's gonna require 10 times more stone, because the area that I wanted in is a heck of a lot lower. And with the witness of that area, he goes, we might have problems. So he suggested we switch to the other side of the driveway, because that has lifted up quite a bit more.
Let's see, that barn next to the pond, not on your property there,
Correct.
that's still there? Something got torn
Yes,
down recently.
that's still there.
That's still there, okay.
That's senior.
Does he own the house in front still, or?
No, John Hutt, what was that, John Daniel Hutt? They purchased that a few years ago.
Okay. And you said Jeff Senior owns next to you still?
Yes.
Here, just come up here, I wanna make sure I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So you're saying from this pond, there's drainage that goes right through here?
Correct.
And if you build it any closer, you would have to,
The pylons will be going right through the drainage, and he's got kind of like a natural swell in the property too, so it kind of ditches down into there. And because when we get a lot of water, the pond overflows and all this over here floods.
So this is an old map, or this is an old proposal?
This is the old proposal, we just swapped it to this side of
Okay.
there was a stone driveway there.
Okay.
sorry.
Just the site guy that we were talking
All
to
set. Good.
had concerns that because that is a lot lower than the rest of the property, that's where all the water is going, I would have issues with water in the pond. Excuse me.
Okay. How tall is the pole barn gonna be?
We're still working on that right now. We're waiting on architect to get stuff back to us. So we might do attic trusses to have a little bit higher for storage above it. But we're still waiting on architect to get back to us.
But essentially one story with attic trusses.
Correct.
Okay.
And then when I do get the plans for the building, I'll obviously bring those in as well. Based on the variant, if we get the variance, we can build it, we're looking at 30 by 40, the found we're going to shrink down.
So when you say 5-foot setback, what you're talking about bringing in stone to make a proper foundation?
Yes.
Is that stone gonna go over?
No.
Or are you talking,
There's-
stone is gonna be 5 feet from the property line, or the building?
The edge of the building will be 5 feet from the property line.
Or the eaves? 'Cause
But
then
the eaves,
Yeah,
the eaves
yes.
count.
Yeah, we're gonna have a foot overhang for the eaves. There's already a stone driveway right on the edge of the property line right there. Where Jeff Taylor's property is, and then starts ours, where it's grass. So he's already got stone down
The eve hangover counts as part of.
there. Yeah, I would set it back far enough, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5 feet.
Yeah.
No portion of the structure can be any closer.
So it's 6 feet to the wall.
Yes.
Yep.
To the wall, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to clarify
No,
that.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Is there anyone here tonight to speak for or against this application? It's okay. Does the board have any further questions? We're gonna discuss this tonight and probably make a decision. You're more than welcome to stay, it might be a little while, or you can just call the office in the morning.
Okay.
And we made our determination, but we do have 60 days, but
Okay.
we'll probably make a decision tonight, okay?
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right,
Have a good rest of your night, everybody.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Why, do I have a motion to close that public hearing?
I'll motion to close.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. Next on the agenda, Steve Green wants to talk to us about some clarification on some town laws, codes. You want to come up and just tell us what you sort of discovered or want us to consider? And like,
Can I pull up a chair?
yes, yeah, and like you're aware of, this isn't a public hearing and we can't
Absolutely.
make a decision tonight, but
Absolutely.
we appreciate you coming in here and giving us time to mull this over, to think about what you're thinking, okay?
And I appreciate the opportunity to come in and have a conversation and get some clarification. The whole purpose of this is, I'm trying to subdivide my land, and I'm very close to the finish line, and it's a matter of which horse to ride across the finish line and how to satisfy some requirements. I'm new to the whole subdivision thing this year, and I've had some time, I spent the summer reading a lot of laws and things, and the town codes and the town laws, state town laws, and how they go about it. One of the things I'm having a question is, specifically, is road frontage. And there's several different places where it's listed. One place is in town law in 280A, paragraph 5 in 280A states that, and Mr. Lange, I'm sure, has gone over this law a lot. Several parts of it, it establishes the status of a street that's eligible to use as access and the process for issuing building permits. And Section 5 states that the minimum the state consideration for road frontage, its minimum is 15 feet, is presumably. So then when I go through your town codes, what's very confusing, and I brought this up over the summer, I believe Mr. Cavill was in on a conversation with Mr. Lange. When I came before the board for the first variance, it involved reading a lot of code off of chapter 275, table 2, as far as your lot parameters. And there's a section in your code, 275, that goes with that. It's 275-7, schedule of regulations. And it became clear to me that, you know, the first process, my front lot on the proposed subdivision I had proposed the first time was being misapplied to the LR 40 standards, and it should have been strictly under a special permit with the planning board and things. And then this is where I started really reading into this table, and it's hard to read because these little tiny footnote numbers are tiny if you're looking at the paper. But if you look at it on a computer, you can zoom in and see, you know, the footnotes and how they apply to the notes in the back and things like that. So in talking with Mr. Ball and trying to determine road frontage, it's interesting because 275-7, this paragraph states that to better facilitate public understanding of this chapter and better administration thereof, they make this. And then Mr. Ball has told me many times that this column where it says minimum lot size and then it says width in square feet, that means road frontage. Now, it's very confusing because road frontage is not listed on this table. What's also interesting is this table's been updated, if you read the top of it, 7 times since it's been created. At any one point, the town could have put road frontage on here for minimum road frontage requirements. There's two possibilities at this point. It's definitely not on the document as it currently exists. So either it was on there and then it got taken off during one of the amendments, or it was just never on there. And there's a very distinct path to follow. When you look at your definitions in chapter 275 on lot width, front lot line, and things like that, it's setting the size of the lot. It all makes sense because you need your lot to be a certain size for the district to prevent, you know, to set the density and the buildings and things like that. That makes perfect sense why it's here. What's interesting is since our talk in August, I looked through the chapter even further, and a lot of other towns have specific road frontage requirements, and it's listed as road frontage. Now, the town of Sullivan created a special overlay district, the Oneida Lake Recreational Overlay District. It's in 275-34. And in there it talks about particular types of businesses that are approved and things, and they have a specific it's listed road frontage requirements. Spelled right out. So it's very confusing. To say that, I think it's a huge leap to say that this means road frontage. Now, most of the time, because of the definitions, the lot line front will be along the road, and the lot width will give you the road frontage. But the definitions also allow for a short line, and it was very specific. And then there's also an attachment 3 that talks about the front of the lot being on the lake, and it says fronting on, and that's the front yard, and that the yard facing the street is the rear yard, and that's how the setbacks. And it also says, when it starts talking about setting back from the road, it uses the language adjacent to the public or private street providing access. So an interesting concept too, in looking at the shape of my lot, is the way the road is positioned into the lot. If you have a road that borders the lot on the outside, it's easy to determine road frontage. You measure along that. What if the road dead ends in your property? So if the road is wide enough to provide access to houses on each side, but it dead ends in your property, so if State Route 31 dead ended into my property, it's 30 feet wide, I'd only be credited with 30 feet of road frontage. However, we all know the road is capable of carrying in the EMT and fire equipment for ingress and egress. So with that being said, I think what I propose is, and lot front or road frontage is required. I mean, a certain minimum is, and it needs to be there for safety. I'm not saying it's not required or, you know, anything like that, or making any outrageous claim. You have to look at the ways that it changes if you start going by exactly what's written, and nothing catastrophic is gonna happen from this point on. 99 times out of 100, your lot width is gonna give you the road frontage. The only time there's an exception is lots on the lake. And how many more of those are there left to divide? So that's the practicality of the change. Now, how this applies to me is, what I'm going to do is change my proposed subdivision back to 3 lots. I'm gonna propose my access from Water Street. And I want to point out that even if a road runs through your property, and you own on both sides, which is allowed according to the zoning, that would count as my road frontage. And I'm not saying double, you know, I don't get, you know, I build a 10-foot long road and I get 20 feet. No, what I'm saying is, if I have a road like Water Street bisect my property, even if I don't subdivide the lot on each side of it, that counts as road frontage for the access to my property. And the fact that I own 10 feet, I do want a 10-foot strip of land going out School Street, but it's road. It's half of a road that I own the whole right of way to, that I deeded to the, I say I, meaning the opportunities of the land, deeded to the town, even though I owned only 10 feet by deeds, and everybody's covenant when their land was divided off of mine, I retained the master right of way. So I alone deeded School Street 20 feet wide to the town in 1978, even though half of it was owned by other people. And the same thing with Willow Street. And I have all those deeds. So what I'm saying is, School Street is a mapped street. It's a mapped approved street. I have a survey from 2014, the map that was filed with the county, the official subdivision map, and it shows School Street being improved beyond Water Street for about 20 feet. It shows how far Water Street is improved already. So what I'm going to do for the sake of this is, it's not going to matter to me what your decision is on road, how you're going to determine road frontage from here on in. My suggestion, for what it's worth, is at any point you can add to these and amend them, obviously, and there's processes, and you can make it a little more clear for people trying to understand. But it's kind of confusing when in one section you have specifically listed road frontage, and then here we're talking about lot width, and then when you look at the definitions of lot width and front lot line, you can see what they're getting at, and then they offer specific provisions for lakeside lots in attachment 3. So that's kind of what's bogging down. I think the simplest solution is, I'm going to propose 3 lots. I'm going to use Water Street as my access. If the town stays steadfast on 75 feet for MR12, I'll meet that. I feel at this point, once I have an application, once I turn it in on Monday with the revised sketch, that I should be on the planning board meeting for the beginning of December. And the reason is, they would set the development standards of Water Street. How wide do they want it? All the development standards. And they have discretion on waiving what's listed in their chapter under 235 design standards. Their minimum width is 28 feet. However, in that same section, I believe it's item H, they can make provisions if it's not in the best interest of the public or if it creates a personal hardship. There's also another section in required improvements that states they can waive required improvements to meet the facility, you know, the utilities and facilities on the adjacent or already developed subdivisions, meaning my neighbor's street. So Water Street right now it's a 20-foot wide right of way. That's what's been approved by the planning board. It's been on an ancient map. The roadbed is 20 feet wide. However, it realistically is 12 to 14 feet wide on Water Street. And Mr. Pindle had, you know, some concerns when I brought him down to walk the property in the beginning of the spring. And if there's any concern, I have the legal right by deed to take a bulldozer and widen any street down there to 20 feet wide. Now, School Street should be 20 feet wide all the way down to almost halfway through John Tornator's house, because that's maintained by the town. It's been maintained by since 1978. It was deeded over on March 28th, and then 2 days later, there was a town resolution where they adopted maintenance to the streets that access the pumping stations. Interesting to note in Mr. Ball's analysis, when I turned in my application, he added the word up to, and the word up to is not in that resolution. It just says maintain the streets to the access stations. And so, School Street is 20 feet wide. I've improved Water Street already. I've improved it to 16 feet wide. I used a recycled asphalt product, RAP, at a 40% ratio with aggregate as my base. Gives me 150% California compression percentage strength, which is stronger than just crushed gravel as a base. And then I used more of that just plain recycled asphalt on top. There's no dust from the road. It's better than the adjacent dirt roads. There's no dust. It's permeable. The water still goes through it, and it's there. So at this point in when I go before the plan, I feel I should be before the planning board with the 3 lots. They decide how wide the road is. If they're happy with 16 feet, it's wider than what's there. I can't go 28 feet and tie it into a 12-foot road. That's out of place with the neighborhood. So if they require something that's not feasible for me to build, if they hold steadfast on 28 feet, my recourse is to come back here for the variance, for the 288 variance. Because I already possess 37 feet for my middle lot on improved Water Street. That's already there and already, not my improvement, that was pre-existing, that was already approved. And then I own a 20-foot access that dead ends in. School Street's a 20-foot street that dead ends in for the lot. Like, obviously, we can get fire trucks in and out. And the road in question is just a small portion of Water Street. So this can go through and be approved strictly through the planning board at this point when I do the 3 lots. But the road frontage determination is important. What's going to be required. Now, reading through some of the variances that have been required, it's interesting. I've seen a couple on county roads, and I have them saved. There was one on is it the Lakeport Road? It's a county highway, and there was 150 feet required, and there was a variance granted for only 25 feet. And that's on a county highway. And I agree with that. Hey, if the lot's big enough for the structures there, 25 feet to me is enough to get fire trucks on and off the property. I mean, I agree with that decision. If I came back and asked for a variance, I mean, I'm talking about a private street with a lot less traffic. So a 25-foot, total road frontage, or 20-foot street that dead ends in is very comparable to the variances I've seen granted. So I don't think anything I'm asking for is out of place. So I don't need to come back for your decision on what you ultimately decide road frontage, and it doesn't hurt my product either way. So we don't need to have a public hearing.
If the planning board okays it. If the planning board okays your approval.
If they approve, what I think should happen is it should go in front of because when somebody designs a new subdevelopment, those streets aren't there. Larry doesn't say I can't. You got to come to the zoning board of appeals and get variances for every lot before the planning board. No, the planning board sets the parameters on the street, and you either improve the streets before the subdivision is improved to their standards, or you post a bond for their requirements. Am I correct?
We're here because Larry said you needed a variance, and we filed an application for a variance, so I want to see it. Did you write all this up in a narrative?
Well, and the reason why, what I need is the determination on road frontage. I need to find out what my variance is against. Is it road frontage? Is it going to be road width? And so the missing part that I need is from the planning board. When I resubmit this application on Monday, I'm assuming offices are closed tomorrow, I have all the missing pieces on the wetland and everything Larry had required. It solves the access issue. It should immediately go to the planning board, and they should determine the improvement standards for Water Street.
So I think what's confusing for me tonight is we had a 2-lot subdivision plat
And by going with three, it solves Larry's road
Tonight
frontage issue.
Tonight you're saying you're gonna go to a 3 lot.
Because it solves the 75 feet. Because right now, if I don't put, and I don't know if you can look at the picture, but there's Water Street runs through my property. I was gonna divide on both sides of the street. Okay? If I don't improve Water Street, Larry's saying I don't have enough road frontage, even though I have access roads coming in that can bring fire trucks right to the heart of my property right now. So in order for him to issue a permit, he says Water Street needs to be improved. To what standards? Who sets the standards? And from everything I'm reading, it's the planning board. By me going with 3 lots, if you stay steadfast on your 75 feet of road frontage requirements, it satisfies them. It's a solution to what Larry is digging his feet in on the 75 feet. And he, per my conversation, I don't want to speak for anybody, but per my conversations, that would solve that issue.
I'm just hearing this for the first time, so I don't have any.
I can't remember what the maps look like, Steve.
Yeah, no, that's fine. This is the file map.
I remember there was like
This
3 or
is
4 different versions.
This is the official map. I got a copy from the county the other day. And on the bottom towards Mr. Durfee is
Route 31.
Route 31. And I don't own that lot. That's what was subdivided off. I
You
own
own
there
over
and
here.
all this.
And then the creek is over here.
No, yes, Kennesaw, yes.
Yeah, the creek is over
And I have a
here.
little drainage
And
ditch
you're-
here
Your turn-in access is right here.
for that front lot.
Yep. in the front
And then
lot.
this is Water Street right here. Now, this is improved, this is 20 feet wide and improved, right down to where this telephone pole used to be, and it's outlined.
Okay.
And so the section that I put in is from School Street over to here. So if I were to divide this into 3 lots, I already have 37 feet on improved Water Street. I already have 20, and for this lot, I already have 20, School Street comes in and dead ends, 20 feet access road. dead
And
end
this,
again.
this would be a lot, this would be a
Yes.
lot, and this would be a lot.
Yes. By doing it this way, it gives me the 75 feet. If at the end of the day, my worst case scenario was, yes, I have to satisfy 75 feet, this doesn't. This is an approved street that I can use for access. It's mapped, and I would just need to improve it to somebody's standards.
And what are those standards? That's what you're asking.
Well, there's standards written for access roads in chapter 235, and the minimum width is 28 feet. However, the planning board, by approving the subdivision, these streets are listed as 20 feet, and that's the way they've been mapped since 1925. So I can't putting in a 28 foot wide street to meet a 12-foot street is gonna change the character of the neighborhood. If I put in a 28 foot wide paved street with curbs and everything to meet a 12 foot wide dirt road, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. Just the opposite would be true. If these were all paved with curbs and I put a dirt road in.
Yep.
So again, this solves my road frontage, so I don't have any, it doesn't matter to me either way. It's not gonna hurt me or help me, whatever you decide on road frontage. I'm gonna turn it
There you
back.
keep this here. All right.
Thanks for the refresher, Corey.
Yeah, no,
I'm
yes.
trying to remember where everything was.
Okay, so you're gonna file an application with Larry, so you'll be on the agenda for next month.
Well, and I'd like to reserve, as the town knows, and Mr. Lang knows, I've been trying to do this since April. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to submit my application Monday. I've met his other requirements, see the planning board at the beginning of December, and see what they say about their the specs for the street. If they want it to be 28 foot wide, and then I come here for the variance. Or if you guys if I hear back from somebody between now and then and say, we have to look at this road frontage issue and start, we can't really enforce that because it's not written, then I would just come, I guess, for a different variance. I mean, what the planning board tells me on this road determines my variance, whether it's road frontage, road width, access, whatever.
Okay.
Is that right? Does that make sense?
Well, obviously, with everything you've discussed is incredibly complicated, you can't deny that. You've got a history in this town of how they've treated road frontage, and that's undeniable. You heard there's an application tonight for road frontage, and I understand your hyper-technical
I
argument.
did not say anything
the
during that meeting either.
No, I understand that. So the only concern I might have is we can't do much in the planning board, and Larry can't do much until the new map you're gonna submit with the new application for the planning board gets submitted.
Agreed.
Then Larry will do what Larry does, he'll look at that and say,
Agreed.
okay, what's in here? What can I say is good as is, what can I say needs to happen, just like we did the other two times.
Agreed.
So I think when we sat down here tonight, we thought we could be talking about a 2-lot subdivision, and you were asking I thought you were asking for an interpretation on the road frontage question.
Well, the road frontage is the big part of it.
But it sounds like
Either
we're
way.
shifting gears a little bit towards the 3-lot subdivision,
Well,
which is your choice.
the lots meet the size. I mean, I don't need any variance in my mind.
Let's see what
Well,
it says.
it could, if I need one, I get it. I don't care how it happens. It's not gonna hurt my feelings what path I take. And it's not just my obligation to get an approval from the town on my subdivision. It's my obligation to get an approval based on the right circumstances, so that if it's challenged by any of my neighbors, it holds up. And so that's why I'm being diligent about this. I'm not trying to waste anybody's time or be smart. I'm just looking for some meaningful dialogue so I can get this done. In talking to everybody kind of agrees all the pieces are there. We just need to put them together so everybody's happy. And that's what
That'll never happen. You'll never make everybody happy.
well, I don't mean my neighbors. I mean as far as the town requirements and the things like that. So, I mean, at this point too, I have I have a building permit on that front lot that I feel I need to turn in. And it was issued inappropriately because I need a special permit to build on that front lot. And so I also know.
For residential use, you gotta get a special.
I bought that permit when the prices were up, and I know that they changed at the town meeting in August, that they're gonna reverse the fee structure. And so, I talked with Jerry about that, and she said it's not finalized yet, but it solves 2 birds with 1 stone. I feel I need to relinquish that permit that was improperly issued and have it reissued once I have the special permit. Because to me, that's an issue that I don't wanna deal with in litigation with a neighbor when I start building.
Okay, all right, well, thank you, and we'll see you next month.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I might not need to be here next, I just wanna reserve the spot if I need it, and then I'll have the paperwork in it. We'll see what happens at the planning board. Thank you guys very much for your time tonight.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Lane.
We'll move Mr. Henderson's application. Harry, you have the
Run it, Jerry.
paperwork.
Alright. What type we got? We're the lead agency. Type 2?
Yeah.
Type 2, negative.
Have a declaration.
Okay, whether undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. I say no.
No, I would say there's a pole barn right next to the current property, for one thing.
Yep. Existing.
And then there's a pole barn on the other side of you too, a big old riding arena, so certainly not changing the character of the neighborhood.
Unadjacent properties. Whether benefits sought by applicant could be achieved by a feasible alternative. Yes, that, not really,
Not without moving drainage and,
Yeah. not without undue financial hardship.
and there is a natural swale there also, I believe you said.
Yep. Financial hardship, okay. Whether the requested variance is substantial, yes, but it's not really a determining factor.
Yeah.
I agree.
Cause you need is what, 15, so we,
I got an easy one. Wake up, Mike.
I'm here. I have proposed and discussed, not in lethargy.
Would the variance have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? No. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created?
No.
No. Okay, the ZBA, after taking into consideration the above
Pre-existing drainage. Disturbed.
pre-existing drainage would be
And they're in an Army Corps wetland. Just kidding. This one, let me say, does not block any, views, is away from the road, does not block, sight lines for travel. It's not close to neighbor's structure.
Seconds. Okay, the ZBA, after taking into consideration the above 5 factors, finds, and I'm gonna submit this as a motion, the benefit to the applicant does outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood or the community,
All second.
and the variance is approved.
any further discussion? All in favor of approving the application signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Who you having build it?
That's another project.
Good luck.
Can't get anybody to actually come over and give me a quote, and if they do, they're a year out.
It is tough, yeah.
Okay.
We're on the books for next June for something at our house. Next June, and we booked it in April.
What kind of project?
The Woodford brothers coming over to do our sill plates in the kitchen.
They're awesome.
They're good,
I didn't
but
realize,
they're coming in June of '23.
I didn't realize you won the Powerball.
You know what we did? We took the equity out in February, and we've been sitting on the money.
February.
I mean,
I knew they were going up, and I'm like, we gotta get this done now, and we got it just in time. I thought they'd do the work in, June of '22, so pull the money now. June of '23.
Cause I mean, Woodford is real expensive, but they're the only people.
I was gonna say, John said the same thing, and I said, oh, who else should I use? And they go, well, there's nobody else to call. Like, I appreciate your doomsday, like, thanks for the negativity, you jerks. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Did we get anything from the planning board on Henderson or Fry?
No.
Did they go to the planning board?
I gave it to,
Okay,
I don't know if you had time to do it.
that's all right.
I know we probably will have the solar on for next month and maybe one we just.
I called the guy, the solar guy.
Did you have anything that you wanted to present to us tonight, or?
I was over,
Okay, so just quickly, the solar folks, I talked to the main engineer. He anticipates being back here next month with the idea that the planning board would finish the seeker review. And that may happen, I don't know yet.
Right.
He said he's working on, the B&L issued a comment letter on the environmental stuff, and he said they were actively working on responses to those comments. So my guess is it very well may get through the seeker process at the next planning board meeting, which is a couple weeks from now. Then back to you guys.
Is there anything else that might be coming up, Jerry, to your knowledge?
Is it appropriate to allow the neighbors to present anything regarding solar? Or can we not have the
Tonight?
public hearing opened unless they're physically?
No, we should go, just to keep it clean, we have to wait for them.
If you have any written materials that you wanna leave with Jerry, she can get that to us and we can peruse them between now and the next
We're gonna have
meeting?
public hearings, there'll be more public hearings.
But with them not here,
Yeah,
we can't let you present.
it's kind of muddies the waters a little bit, you know, to do something.
Could you turn around and bring us in that Town of Sullivan DEC wetlands map that's posted there so that we can peruse it in view of the currently open solar proposal in the wetland?
For you to look at it without making comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, if you want to use it there, that's fine. We have other business we gotta do tonight. I've got, legal advice for you guys to clean up, so, I don't know,
No, I can't. It's stapled.
Ah,
I can move some of it as push pins, but I don't wanna pull staples out.
can you point to where this proposal is?
It's right in here. Might be CN7, like the DEC wetlands, but I'm not sure if no, it's further up than that. It's north of that.
Right,
It's,
right
it's,
across
it's
from
just below the
Chestnut.
trailer park.
It's not in a DEC wetland. It's not in a DEC map wetland.
Oh, boy. I'm looking forward to you getting the comment.
Okay.
Good, perfect. That deals with it just fine. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll be seeing you next time. You're all set?
Thank you very much.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Have a great day.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck finding the builder.
Thank you very much.
So you guys, you can close the meeting because any legal advice I dispense to you is outside.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
You don't need to do it.
I won't do that.
You don't
Close
need
the
to.
meeting.
That way Jerry can go. and leave.
Okay,
That's not- you
I'll
don't
make
have
a motion to
start
close the
clock.
meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
There you go.